But here he talks about dealing with the people of the earth and all these enemies that have been against him. He speaks of the fact that they're going to be destroyed at this time. It's interesting that this supper of the great God is mentioned in verse 17. Then he gets into this, the flesh of kings, captains, mighty men, horses, those that sat on them, free and enslaved. Darryl, what would you think about a verse like that? Would that be a very limiting verse? Just a few people are going to be involved, or does that seem to be a worldwide, a universal situation?
Well, verse 18 says, the flesh of all men.
The flesh of all men. So it's a universal situation, isn't it? Now, when you think of this final campaign of the earth, as I understand the scripture, there seems to be 4 major confederacies that'll be lined up in end-time events. They all surround Israel. One will be to the north of Israel. Many believe Russia will be involved, and her allies and other countries, spoken about in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. And then you have the kings of the east. Darryl, we read about that in chapter 16, didn't we? The Euphrates would be dried up, that the way of the kings of the east would be prepared. And then you have a western confederacy made up of 10 nations. And in chapter 17, Paul, of Revelation, you have mentioned 10 kings or kingdoms, reiterating the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 7 talks about the little horn, and then 10 horns, a 10-nation federation, many believe west of Israel, a revived Roman Empire. And then a southern confederacy, Egypt and some of her allies. It's interesting, these 4 confederacies, and somehow and in some way they're all going to come against Israel in end-time events. North is going to come down and attack, and then the west is going to move in, and the kings of the east are going to move in. But as this Antichrist and his armies attack the other groups in this final campaign, I take it you have the return of Jesus Christ to the earth, chapter 19 of Revelation. And so what he's talking about here is the fact that at that time, all of these enemies are going to be put down by Christ. All of them. The mighty men, the flesh of kings, captains, all flesh, the flesh of all men, both small and great, will be put down. In other words, his enemies are going to be cut off at this time. Why? Because you have the believers are going to go into the kingdom, and they are going to reign with Christ in that kingdom that he's going to set up here upon the earth. So it's interesting to see the all-inclusiveness of the cutting off of these people. Now, we have seen in the book of Revelation that there are some persons that are particularly wicked. One, of course, is the dragon. And Darryl, who was the dragon?
Satan.
Satan wasn't. And we have the false prophet, and we have the beast. And what's going to happen to them? Well, if you notice the end of verse 20, they are cast alive in a lake of fire, burning with brimstone.